Hello students and welcome back to the next video in our PacMan video game series using Scratch. In the next video group, we're going to do the dots. It's going to take a while, so brace yourself. The first thing we want to do is create a dot. So I'm going to actually paint my own dot. You can see it takes you right into the paint screen. I'm going to zoom way in. 1, 2, 3 clicks in. I'm going to choose the circle. I'm going to choose white, which for some reason white disappeared on me, so I'll bring white back. I'm also going to give it a black outline of level 1, so it's just a tiny little outline. When you go to draw a circle, I don't know if you know it, but it gives you these oblong choices. If you hold down Shift on your keyboard, it will make the circle perfect. I'm just going to make it nice and small. And you can see now that somewhere on your screen, mine is right here, a white dot has appeared. That's actually a fairly good size for me. I'm not going to mess around with it anymore. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the black arrow tool to drag this over. So you can see there's a sniper here. This is just in case you ever want to rotate or move anything. That's what that's for, is for the rotation. So some people have already discovered that their ghost, when it flipped directions, it would rotate funnily, and that's because you need it centered over top of that sniper. So then we're going to go back to our code. I'm not actually happy with this dot where it's located. So I'm going to go to the code and I'm going to build the code to choose the location. So let's start with the code. So when I receive start next level, there we go, then I'm going to want to go to a specific location, and we're going to change this for every one of our dots. I do apologize. I spent about 2 hours trying to figure out how to make clones and just trying to automate the dot process. And every time I got to level 3, having all of those clones in a Scratch window in a web browser, it just froze everything, and I had to close the web browser and start the game all over again. So in order to get away from that glitch of having too many clones, we're just going to have to create 48 different dots because our grid is 6 by 8. So I'm going to set this location in just a second, and I'm going to show you the chart that I made up in order to keep track of it all. But the other thing I want it to do is I want it to show. So I'm going to go to looks and go and get a show and attach it in. And then I'm going to want to see, has the PacMan eaten it? So I'm going to go to control, and I'm going to say forever, and then I'm going to say if. And if I'm touching PacMan, which is the baby blue sensing area, the very top one. So let's change that to say PacMan and then put it in. So if touching PacMan, there's a number of things that I want to do if I'm touching PacMan. The first one is I want the dot to disappear. So I'm going to go and grab a hide. So if touching PacMan, hide. And then I'm going to change the points. So I'm going to go to the variables. So there's points and not set. I want change. And I'm going to change the points by 1, which is +1. And I'm going to leave that there. Okay. So this is the basics of the dot. And now we have to try and figure out, and I'm going to give I'm going to give it a name called dot controller. And so my dot controller is going to be what controls all of the dots. It's also dot number 1. And so in order to do this, I need to know, number 1, how many dots there are, and then I need a way of counting down the dots as PacMan eats them. So the dot controller is going to set up the beginning part. So again, I'm going to go back and grab a when I receive start next level. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable, and my variable is going to be called number of dots. So I've already created one here, so I'm just going to go ahead and make it again just so you can all see. It's going to be for all sprites, and it's going to be called number of dots. And I can click OK. I don't need it to show, except for testing. I suppose we could leave it open for testing, and then we'll turn it off later. So at the very beginning of the game, I'm going to set number of dots to, now I did say 48 earlier. You didn't mishear me because it's the 6 by 8 grid. But if PacMan always starts on top of one of the dots, it immediately disappears, and you get a point for doing nothing. So I'm actually going to change it to 47. Okay. And we'll see later that when we create the 48 dots, we're just going to kind of disable one of the dots. It'll just never show up in the game. But it's easier for the math in our heads to figure that out. So now I need another forever and an if. And what we're going to constantly be checking for is, has PacMan finished eating all of the dots? So I'm going to go to the operators and get a less than sign. Again, my coding background says instead of saying equals 0, if I just say it's less than 1, then if there's any kind of glitch where it gets into the negative numbers, those are still less than 1. So it should cover our glitches if we use less than 1. And I want to go to the variables and get number of dots. So if the number of dots is less than 1, then PacMan has finished the level. And so now we're going to go to our broadcast, and we're going to broadcast a message. And PacMan has died. Nope, that's not true. Start next level. Nope, that's not true. We need a new message. So the new message is going to be called level up. And we can hit OK. And that's mostly it for our dot controller. However, over here with our dot, when this dot gets eaten, we really should subtract 1 from the number of dots that are out there. So I'm going to go ahead to the variables, and I'm going to change the number of dots by -1. So I'm taking away one of the dots. So what this basically says is how many dots are visible. At the beginning of a level, 47 dots are visible. And then as those 47 dots get eaten, I'm constantly checking to see, are all the dots gone, all the dots eaten, and then we can level up. So this is the basics of our dot controller. I'm going to pause here in this video and show you how to make all the other dots in the next video. Okay. So thank you again for watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.